Today on Taking Over Tottenham, we have our first North London derby. Can we tip up Arsenal to get our first win on camera? And also a preview to the upcoming transfer window that's coming up after the intro. Hello everyone and welcome back to episode number 7 of Taking Over Tottenham here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and if you are looking forward to today's episode, our first North London derby, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well so you are informed when more FM22 content does drop on the channel. But before we get into this big North London derby, our fiercest game of the season yet, hopefully we can get our first win on camera. We've played a few games since the last episode against Chelsea. If you missed that, I'll leave a link to it above my head in the top right corner, but time to catch you guys up on some highlights. First up, it was probably our toughest test in the Premier League season, going away to Anfield to take on table toppers Liverpool, but we got off to a very good start in this game. Matt Doherty making his way down the right back for Ndombele, over for Lucas Moura, in for Belotti. His first shot blocked, but the second one finds the bottom left corner, and we go 1-0 up after 5 minutes. Unfortunately, Liverpool did peg a goal back just before half-time. Son losing the ball there. Milner puts down to Chamberlain. A wonderful strike there from the Ox on the volley to make it 1-1 just before half-time. But we got our lead back only a few minutes later. Lucas Moura, Harry Winks running a wonderful line, just takes that to the wrong side of Alisson to beat him at his near post, and it was 2-1 Tottenham at half-time, but unfortunately Liverpool came out with a head of steam to start the second half. Mo Salah, just a wonderful goal. The rest gets a hand to it, but can't quite keep it out. 2-2 at the 52-minute mark, and not long off the back of that, with 20 minutes to go, ball put into the mixer. Naby Keita controls it and lets that rip into the bottom right corner, and we end up losing 3-2 at Liverpool, but a very credible display, especially considering the stats. Liverpool did thoroughly outplay us, but we hung in that game very, very well, but couldn't quite get the job done against the league leaders. And a few days later, we were back at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to take on another tough opposition in Leicester. This time, a slightly more winnable game for us, and luckily we got off to a similarly good start. Took us a little bit longer, 25th minute, but a nice ball there from Ndombele to Harry Kane, takes that around the keeper, very similar to what Harry Winks did in the Liverpool game to put us 1-0 up after 25 minutes. That was the halftime score, and then just after the hour mark, we sealed the win. Harry Kane with a header just gets that past Schmeichel into the bottom left corner, and we pick up a solid 2-0 win at home against Leicester to keep our top 4 hopes alive at this stage of the season in the Premier League. And then coming into this game, we had our EFL Cup, Carabao Cup quarter-final against Manchester City, the toughest test you can get in this competition. A home game for us, which helped. We did have to put out a pretty heavy rotation for this game with the sheer volume of games around this time of year, and the board not really caring too much about this competition. Unfortunately, we gave away a penalty in the 10th minute, which Kevin De Bruyne slots away pretty safely down the middle, so 1-0 down early. But after that, we hit our form really well. Belotti being played through there nicely by Steven Bergwijn, puts that away in the bottom left corner. Just shy of the half-hour mark, it was 1-1, and off the back of that, we gained some confidence and blew them away late here with 12 minutes to go. A penalty to Dele Alli to make it 2-1. With 6 minutes to go in the game, Dele Alli again playing a ball over the top for Belotti, just gets in between the two defenders and rockets that into the top right corner. 3-1 Tottenham with 5 minutes to play, and then a free kick which Bergwijn got on the end of only 2 minutes later, and we beat Manchester City in the Carabao Cup quarter-final 4-1 after going 1-0 down early. A game that we did slightly dominate. You can see the team that we put out there, it was very much a rotation. We've got Benkovic starting in this game, so that shows you how much of a rotation it was. And you look at Manchester City's team, that looks pretty full strength. So that's a heck of a performance from our guys. The only real area you could argue they're not at their best, clearly, is Stefan N'Golo instead of Ederson, but that's still a heck of a result for us with our rotation team, knocking Manchester City out of the EFL Cup and making our way to the semi-finals. And with them gone, that's a trophy that I think we've actually got a pretty good chance of trying to go on and win now. So that's a great result for us what that means in terms of the Premier League table going into today's episode, the North London derby against Arsenal. We are in 6th, a win against these guys, and we really put the pressure on them. We'd still have 2 games in hand on them. We would jump above Leeds potentially if they can't get the job done against Norwich, and only be 1 point behind them with those 2 games in hand still, and should be in a position where we can really cement ourselves in that top 4 and potentially get a little bit of a gap over Arsenal and Leeds if we make the most of our games in hand. Not too sure if we're going to be able to catch up those top 3 teams. They have a big gap on the rest, but we could just create a little bit of separation between us and Arsenal if we do the job today and with our games in hand coming up. So off the back of our last episode against Chelsea, and more so the one before that against Aston Villa, we were quite vulnerable to long balls over the top, especially from kickoff. So going to that Liverpool game, we made the very slight tactical switch of dropping our defensive line from high back down to standard, and that seems to have really helped us defensively. We're looking a lot more solid than we did prior with this vertical tiki-taka style. We look pretty good defensively with our 5 at the back early on, and sometimes with the gegenpress as well, but just dropping the defensive line back a little bit, much like seemed to be the case in last year's game, has seemed to have helped. So I think that's made a real difference defensively, not leaking quite as many goals and not in as frustrating a fashion as well. So a very slight tactical switch before that Liverpool game. We nearly defeated those guys, so that was a good performance. And off the back of that, good wins over Leicester, and especially that one in the EFL Cup over Manchester City. And coming into this North London derby, 4th versus 6th, as I said, if we can win this, we should be in a position where we can jump above Arsenal at pretty short notice once we get our games in hand out of the way. We are more or less full strength. The only player unavailable at the moment is Lo Celso with a minor injury, but Harry Winks has been pretty good in that Mazzala role anyway. It does just mean that Eric Dyer comes onto the bench as more defensive midfield cover than centre-back cover, with Ali and Skip the more attacking midfield cover. But a pretty strong team we've got available for us for this North London derby. Harry Kane back in the thick of the action with a bit more match fitness under his belt than what he had heading into that Chelsea game last episode. So hopefully in a North London derby we can pick up our first win on camera of this save. We'll come back shortly, run you guys through the Arsenal team sheet from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for this North London derby. And we do have TV coverage for this game. There's our lineup as we ran through before, coming in this in pretty good form. That Liverpool loss aside, as I said, thought we played pretty well in that game. Arsenal in similar form. They are looking fairly similar to how they line up in real life as well. So they haven't made too many changes in the season opening transfer window. And there is that league table with those games in hand. If we can win this, we're in a really good position to put ourselves in that top 4. But mainly, we want to try and win this North London derby anyway. 6 minutes gone, an early free kick here for Tottenham. Højbjerg trying to curve that into the top right corner, forces a decent save there out of Ramsdale to tip that over the bar. That would have been a heck of a goal. Son with the resulting corner, Rodon gets that just over the bar as well. So a good start from us, but it's still 0-0. 11 minutes gone here, and we are down the other end for an Arsenal throw, and Xhaka putting this to our Aubameyang far post. Here's a chance in the air, but puts that wide, and it still remains 0-0. And shortly off the back of that chance for our Aubameyang, we have a throw-in down the other end ourselves. Ødegaard with the header away, but luckily Ndombele tidies things up for us, and we just look to work the ball around here and wait for Arsenal to open up at the back. Joe Rodon, who has been very good this season, more with the header. Kane just gets on the wrong side of a defender and unleashes that in the bottom left corner, and after just shy of quarter of an hour, it is Tottenham 1, Arsenal 0, and more or less a perfect start after both teams got off an early shot in this game, just working the ball around nicely off the front. Ndombele with a nice ball over the top. Lucas Moura somehow wins that header, and Harry Kane just gets on the wrong side of the defence on his right foot and unleashes that into the left-hand side of goal. And after quarter of an hour, 1-0 Tottenham. Just shy of half-time, about to enter the added minute. Joe Rodon there with a header just over the bar. Again, a good chance, and I think that will do it for the first half. Indeed it will. That was a really good half from us, getting that goal at the quarter of an hour mark, and after that we certainly looked the more threatening team. So definitely deserved the 1-0 lead, I feel. I say that it's a pretty even game, but luckily we have been more clinical with our chances at the moment. Very happy with how everyone is playing. And we'll get going in the second half, 1-0 up in this North London derby. Early highlight here in the second half, 46 minutes, so almost immediately from the restart. Renan Lodi making his way towards the box. Now Emerson Royale in there for Højbjerg. Puts the ball over the top. Good save from Ramsdale, and now referee stopped play here. I think someone's pushed Harry Kane in the back, or it might have even been Son when the ball was clearly going over the top of his head. It's definitely a push in the back, and the VAR has given a penalty. That is more or less some real stupidity there from the Arsenal defence, because I don't think whoever that player was getting on the end of that ball anyway. And Harry Kane, with his 20 penalty taking, as you would expect, he charges towards the left-hand corner here at Tottenham Stadium, and Arsenal early in the second half have gifted us a 2-0 lead. It was a very soft penalty. As I said, Ramsdale pulled off a good save, but one of the other Arsenal defenders just decided to give away a needless penalty, and we go 2-0 up in the derby. 59 minutes gone, we look to keep the pressure on Arsenal here as we have a throw in the final third. Play that back to Rodon, who, despite being on a yellow card, is having a pretty good game at the back for us. Renan Lodi inside the box, has a shot, hits the side netting, but we are all over Arsenal at the moment. 2-0 up after an hour. And up to the 69-minute mark here, good time to make a substitution. Heung-min Son playing well down to a red hardened. Despite the scoreline only being 2-0, Arsenal aren't threatening us too much since that opening couple of highlights in the first 10 minutes or so. So I feel like we can bring Brian Gill on for Son, keep him rested for upcoming games in this busy little period. Still 2-0 with only 20 minutes to play. And up to the 78-minute mark now, we're going to make our second substitution. Similar case to the first, Lucas Moura onto a red heart. Steven Bergwijn on for him. And up to the 88-minute mark now, nothing really happening off the back of that second goal from the penalty in this game. We are going to make one more change just to make sure Joe Rodon doesn't do anything silly. We'll bring Davinson Sanchez on for him. Also down to a red heart as well. So we'll make that change before we enter the last few minutes of this game. But this has been a pretty comfortable North London derby for us so far, hoping nothing happens in these last few minutes as we get the action back underway. But we deserve this win based on what we've seen highlight-wise. 4 minutes of added time, but nothing is happening at all. And we pick up our first win on camera of taking over Tottenham. It's about dang time, and it's a good team to beat to do it. The North London derby rivals and Arsenal, and that gives us a big lift in our push for the top four in our search of Champions League football for season 2 of this beta save. Good performance from most of the team. Everyone who got taken off was performing well, so overall a very good performance from us. Arsenal, not great from them. They had an early chance for our Aubameyang, but really didn't fret in too much off the back of that, and we pick up a pretty comfortable 2-0 win in the first North London derby of the season. And off the back of that win in the North London derby, here is what the Premier League table looks like after Boxing Day. We are still in 6th. Leeds picked up a win in their game on the same day, but we have really closed the gap on those other teams ahead of us, only 1 point behind them, and with 2 games in hand on both. As I said, when we get those games in hand done, hopefully we can leapfrog both Leeds and, more importantly, Arsenal, so we can get ourselves in that top 4 and potentially grab a little bit of a break on those 2 teams as well, given the games in hand that we do have. So that will do it for gameplay wise in today's episode, but it is the 26th of December, and that means we do have a transfer window upcoming that we're going to wrap up in tomorrow's episode. So we'll just have a look at some of the targets. Now, if we have a quick look at our scouting and our transfer budget, it's only 377,000 at the moment. So if we're going to sign a player for a transfer fee, we are going to need to sell one first. So haven't got anything planned in that regard, but what we're going to do is have a quick little look at the players on my shortlist who are available to sign on a free transfer, who hopefully we can get hold of for season 2 here at Tottenham. And this is the list of players. So obviously up top, we've got Kylian Mbappe. That would be great. I don't think his wage is going to fit here at Tottenham. He's currently on 425,000 a week at PSG. I don't think we can afford that. Maybe we could work around it if we give him a big sell-on fee percentage, but truth be told, as good as it would be to put him out on the right, Son on the left, and Kane up front, what a front three that would be. I don't think we're going to be able to afford him, and even if we could, I think there's going to be some bigger clubs after him. So as nice as it would be to get Kylian Mbappe out on that right, as I said, that front three would be incredibly tough to go past, even in this Premier League. I don't think we're going to be able to get Kylian Mbappe on a pre-contract for next season, as nice as it would be. But the players in behind that, I think, are all pretty realistic targets for us. First up, we have Nicholas Schuler, centre-back. Of course, Christian Romero is leaving us at the end of this season once his loan from Atlanta does expire, and this guy could be a very good replacement. Truth be told, he's a bit of an upgrade on Romero. Good heading, good jumping reach, nice and tall, exactly what I like in my centre backs is also quite pacey as well. Hopefully we can get hold of him. Just looking at the other teams who are interested in him, it's going to be tough, but he is going to be one of our targets for this upcoming window on a pre-contract is Nicholas Shaw. And behind that, centre backs look like quite a strong point of this group of players we've got on the shortlist heading into this window. Anyway, we've got Zagadou, who I know is very good in game. I've seen other YouTubers use him. He looks quite lethal from set pieces. Unfortunately, he's already underbid from PSV and Lille, and we don't have the money to do a deal for him immediately. So Zagadou, by the time we'll be able to offer him a contract, might already be tied up to another team. So a little bit frustrating. He would have been a great second choice, third choice centre back for us, but I think there's already a bit too much interest in him from other clubs. We've got Antonio Rudiger, who would be an interesting pick up, the Chelsea centre back. A little bit of an interesting switch there if he came from Chelsea to Tottenham, but a player not quite as good aerially as Schuler, but not much worse. Very strong player. He could be a very good pickup, so he might be a player who, if he is interested and if he's on the shortlist, he must be somewhat interested that we could go after, keep making our way down. Axel Witsel, the first midfielder on this list, could be quite a get in the centre of midfielders. Quite old compared to the players that the club does want us to be signing. They're looking for us to sign players under the age of 22, but he is a real quality player. Looking at the scout summary, really does thrive playing big matches, so he could be a very useful pickup. We'll want a pretty big wage, but we'll see what we can do there. Axel Witsel definitely on the radar for this upcoming window. Jesus Corona would be an upgrade on Lucas Moura on the right wing. His finishing could use work, but we do use the inverted winger out on that right-hand side as good on either foot, so can switch between each wing quite comfortably. Can also go to right back if we need. 28-year-old Mexican, currently at Porto. As I said, is actually a slight upgrade on what we've currently got in the squad in Lucas Moura. So he's a player, considering he's not on too big a wage, who I think we will be going after in this upcoming window, trying to strengthen out that right-hand side. If we can't get Mbappe, which we probably can't, Jesus Corona could be a good addition to the squad. And making our way down a little bit further, Boubacar Kamara, I look at as a bit average as a centre-back, honestly, and I don't think he fills exactly what we need in the CDM role either. So I think he's a little bit average. I think we might pass up on Boubacar Kamara, and the players in behind that I also don't think are really what we're looking for. So mainly looking at all those players above the line of Boubacar Kamara for this upcoming window on potential free transfers. If we can get a couple of them, that would be great. Main ones I'm looking at getting would be Schuler all the way down to Corona. I'm not too sure about Rudiger. I think he might get a bit of a telling off if he comes from Chelsea to Tottenham, so I can't imagine he'd want to come. And obviously Mbappe would be great, but I can't see the wage fitting in with the wage structure that we do have here at Tottenham. But that's where we're looking at potential improvements to join the club next season and really make a push in this second and what is going to be the last season of this Taking Over Tottenham save in the FM22 Beta. The other thing to consider, player who we could sell if the right offer came in, a bit of a silly offer, considering he is not really worth that much, considering he isn't signing a new contract here at the club. That is Hugo Lloris, value between 9.5 and 10.5 million. He doesn't want to sign a new contract that is less than the wage he is currently on, and he's going to be declining pretty soon. He's not homegrown. That's one of the reasons I think we can improve in this area. There's some other players who are similar or worse ability-wise in this Tottenham squad, but they fill one of those homegrown nation or club slots, which is quite important. Hugo Lloris is not one of them. That's why I'm just having a bit of a fight with him in terms of this contract, wanting to get his wage down if he is going to stay, and he does not want to play ball. He wants an increase. We continue to try and offer him a contract, and he does not want to take a wage cut. So I think Hugo Lloris is going to be leaving us at the end of the season. We can use the money that we will have at the start of next season to try and get in a better goalkeeper. We might be able to get a goalkeeper in to replace him in this upcoming window if someone comes in with an overvalue bid for him, but I can't see that happening. I think we're just going to have to leave Lloris to finish out the season here at Tottenham. He will leave at the end of the season, and then we will look to replace him with someone like Andre Onana. He is the obvious standout for that. So we'll see what happens with Lloris over this upcoming window. I suspect he's going to remain at the club, but will not be signing a new contract to stay here for next season. But that's what we're looking at doing in the upcoming transfer window. Lots of targets, free transfer wise, all players who should boost the depth here at Tottenham Hotspur. So that will do it for today's episode. When you see us tomorrow, it depends how much I get through off camera between now and then, but I think what we're going to do is come back right at the end of January. We've got a lot of games. We'll run you guys through the highlights of those. As you can see, we have a lot of games against West Ham United coming up all in the month of January. 2 Premier League games, as well as our EFL Cup semi-final clash over 2 legs. That's a pretty winnable tie for us, I think, and if we can get through that, we'll have an EFL Cup final coming up at the end of February for a few days' time, and that would be very exciting indeed. Quickly show you guys who is in the other semi-final, and it's Arsenal versus Wolves. So off the back of today, if it's a North London derby final, I back our chances in that, so I think we might be favourites for this competition. As weird as it sounds saying Tottenham are favourites for anything, I think between this and the Conference League, we have a sneaky chance of potentially picking up a double here in this first season of Taking Over Tottenham. But tomorrow, I think we'll come back for the Premier League game at the end of the month. Brighton it's scheduled to be at the moment, and we'll do deadline day off the back of that as well and run you guys through any transfers that we have made during the month of January. But if you did enjoy today's episode, a good win finally on camera in the North London derby against Arsenal, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and enjoyed the content here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. And until tomorrow for the January transfer window roundup and a Premier League game, probably against Brighton, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.